Hi, and welcome to Crafts with Ash. My name's Ashley, and today I'm going to bring you 4 Halloween big store dupes. So what I did was I found 4 pieces at big box stores that I thought that I could recreate myself. Now, these aren't going to be the exact pieces. I did put my own spin on them, but I had a lot of fun making all of these. Before we get started, if you have not done so already, please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit that little notification bell so you can get notified anytime I upload a new video. Then hit the drop down menu and click all so you will be notified about all notifications. Then join me on Instagram and Facebook and join my crafting community. You'll be able to see behind the scene content I know you don't want to miss. Alright, so let's get started with these Halloween big store dupes. So my first dupe came from something I saw on the Kirkland's website. So I went to the Dollar Tree and I grabbed 3 of those silver box containers. I think they're supposed to be like gift boxes. And I purposely got silver because I'm going to galvanize these and this will just make it so much easier. Now I did make 3 of these, but I'm just only going to show you the process on one of them, but I did the same thing to all 3. So the first thing I did was take a kitchen sponge and I just dabbed all over the little box. And you can see that I'm using black acrylic paint first, and then I'm going to go in with white acrylic paint, or I'm sorry, white chalk paint, the Waverly chalk paint, but it doesn't matter, just any kind of white paint. And then I'm going to bring it all together by using my steel Waverly chalk paint. So this process, I love galvanizing things. I just think it's so much fun to do this because, I don't know, you can just really make something really pop when you galvanize. And, you know, I've been doing this for a while on my channel. Of course, I did not come up with it. I did learn, and ever since I've just really loved doing this. So just like I said, I'm going to go in with some white paint and do it to all 3 of my containers. And I'm just going to make sure, I'm just kind of eyeballing it. This is just kind of something you have to decide as you go along. And what the white, I like going with black first and then doing the white because the white dulls down the black. And then I'm going to take the steel, like I said, and I'm going to dab that all over because it just dulls down both the white and the black and kind of brings it all together. So I'm really happy that I found these containers because you can see that they already have that shine to it that a galvanized metal would have. So I typically would go in with my metallic silver, but I found I really didn't need to because this had just enough shine to it. So I just dabbed it, and then if I needed to, I would blend all 3 of my colors on the sponge and kind of go back and forth between the black, the white, and the steel. So, like I said, this process was so easy to do. So, I mean, it's something you absolutely cannot mess up. So, and like I said, this is one of my favorite things to do is to galvanize pieces. So after I went in with my steel, after it dried, I did take my Waverly Antique Wax just to kind of add that rust look. And I'm going around the edges, just anywhere where these containers would naturally rust. So I went around the top edge. I went around where the lid stops, like kind of towards the top. And then, of course, I went down around the bottom. And then I just randomly put some little dabs throughout the whole container as well. So, I mean, like I said, I just loved this look. It is so neat. And if you're a farmhouse person, this project is perfect for you too because it's not a ton of Halloween color. And I think it's just enough. But if you're not a farmhouse perfect, this is perfect too because it, like I said, it still accomplishes the Halloween look. So I'm just going to go ahead and go through with my Waverly Wax, and I'm going to do this on all 3. And like I said, I do love how each one of these came out. Just wait till you see the close-up and the texture. It's so cool. So after those dried, look how neat that is. So after those dried, I took these printables that I got from Google, and they were just free printables, and I went ahead and I cut them out. Now I sized them to 2 different sizes, just the size that it originally had. And if I can find the link again, I'll go ahead and link it in the description box. And then I made these a little bigger. So I did opt to go for the bigger ones on these containers because they are taller. So what I'm doing is just using some Mod Podge, and I'm just simply going to glue each one of these down. And I did cut around each one of the graphics, so there was no white paper, and I just printed it off on white paper. Now, you can do the trick where you print it off on white tissue paper. I've seen a lot of crafters do that too. But I just used regular white computer paper to do it, and it worked just fine. So after I went ahead and put my piece down, I took some Mod Podge and I brushed over it to go ahead and seal it in. Then I did this for all 3. I have a witch's brew, a venom, and then a potion. So I thought that these were really fun canisters just to display. You can put stuff in them, or you don't have to, just use them for decoration. But I really loved how these came out. So after I had them all glued on, I took that sponge again, and I'm just going to dab my Waverly Antique wax around the edges, and you can see that I'm using my finger to kind of blend it in, and this just gave it that rustic look around, and I think that this really completed this and brought it all together. So I, like I said, loved how these came out. You can use them for decoration, or you can actually use them for storage. These might be cool to put on a coffee bar, and you could put your K-cups or your sugar packets or tea bags in them. And but yeah, I just think that these came out so fun. So I'm just gonna finish off putting my wax all over it, and I love that rust look. And then after I was done dabbing, these little canisters are done. Here's the one from the Kirkland's website. $20.99, not bad, but if you see, it's no longer available online. Now, of course, I couldn't find the exact printables or the graphics that they used, but I think mine came out pretty cute. What do you think? This second dupe came from someplace called Christmas Central. I had never heard of it. I saw it on Pinterest, and I went to their website, and they have the cutest decor. Obviously, they have Halloween decor as well. But to start off, I'm going to start off with this jack-o'-lantern that has the cutouts, and I'm going to give it a really good coat of pumpkin orange apple barrel paint. And I am going to paint the whole thing. I did not worry about the back, though. Then I'm going to take this cookie sheet, and I'm simply going to cut the inside of my cookie sheet out, so I'm just left with the middle of it. So I'm just going to cut around it just so I have that to work with. Again, these cookie sheets you can get from the Dollar Tree, and they do come in a 2-pack. And I use these a lot more than I thought, and of course not ever for baking. Okay, so I want to get rid of, there's like little bumps, and I want to get rid of them, so I'm just going to use my scraper, and I'm just kind of flattening them out. So I'm just going to go through. Now, you could actually, thought about this, you might have been able to get away with using aluminum foil too. I did not think about that till after the fact, but you know, if you have these, then you can go ahead and use it. Now, it did curl up a little bit, so in order for me to paint this, I did go ahead and duct tape it down to my surface, and it really helped keep it down and stop it from curling. So after I had it all taped down, I'm going to take that steel Waverly chalk paint again, and I'm just going to go ahead and we're going to do the same thing we did in the first DIY. We're going to galvanize this. So again, I'm just going to dab my steel paint all over this just to kind of dull down the shiny, but I'm not going to cover the whole thing up. I'm just going to, you know, dab in random places. Real quick, I want to take this opportunity to welcome you to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, thank you so much for choosing to stop by today. I hope you stick around with me for a while and join my crafting community by hitting that subscribe button. I am almost to 10,000 subscribers, and when I get there, I'm going to be doing a giveaway, so you are definitely going to want to be subscribed and hit the notification bell so you can be informed when that giveaway is going to be. If you're returning, you already know I love you so much and I appreciate all of you. Without all of you, I would not have almost 10,000 subscribers. So thank you so much. And again, I love reading your comments. Please keep commenting. Please liking. It really is helping my channel to grow, and I could not be happier. So thank you so much for all of your love and support. So after I went in with the steel, I'm going to go over it with the black acrylic paint and then the white. And then I'm going to go over it one more time with that steel just to kind of bring it all together. And look at that. I mean, I just love how that looks. I love the galvanized look, like I said. Then I'm going to go in and I'm going to go in with the Waverly Antique Wax and go ahead and just do random places of that. Now, you don't have to worry about the edges of this because we're not going to be actually using the edges. We're just going to use the middle. I just needed a sheet to use. So don't worry about the edges. Just pay attention to the middle. Okay, so after that's dry, I'm going to take my piece and I'm going to fold it like you did in first grade to make a fan. So I don't know what it's called, but I'm just going to call it fan fold it. So I'm just going back and forth and folding it. And that way it creates that fan look. So then I'm going to spread it out. And now I'm going to take my pumpkin and I'm just going to kind of rough trace around it. So it's not perfect, but I'm just kind of using it as a guide. Then I'm going to go ahead and cut that down so this piece fits behind the eyes, the nose, and the mouth. So this project was super easy to do too. One thing about all these dupes is that they were very simple to put together. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and just use some hot glue, and I'm going to hot glue the piece of metal or aluminum to the back of my jack-o'-lantern. And make sure that it's adhered really well. I'm going to go in with some hot glue, kind of tack it down more. And look how cool that looks already. I love that. All right, so the original piece from Christmas Central had like little dabs of gray in it. Personally, would not have added this, but for the sake of the dupe, I'm going to go ahead and put it on. So I am just taking the little flat side of my makeup sponge, dipping it in that steel, just making like one little boop down and then using my finger to brush it. Now, like I said, I really didn't like that look, so I went ahead and added some Waverly Antique Wax around the edges just to add my own little touch to that. Now, I might go back and paint over the steel, but once you see what I did, I guess it kind of just blends in, but I'm going to go ahead and go over the edges, and then I'm going to go around the eyes, the nose, and the mouth as well. So this kind of added just like a little spooky touch, and this was not on the original dupe, but I don't know, I just felt like it needed something else, so I opted to add it. I did go a little darker on the stem as well. And then I kind of just randomly dabbed in the middle of my jack-o'-lantern to kind of add that rust and make it look old and antique. Okay, so next I'm going to take some raffia and I'm just going to make a bow. And then you can see off to the side there I have a silver little star. That came off of something from 4th of July, and I just added some antique wax to it to kind of dull down the shininess. The original piece had a star on it, so that's the only reason why I'm adding it. I don't think I would have if it didn't. But what I did was just hot glue that raffia to the bottom of the stem, and now I'm just going to simply hot glue the star on top of the raffia. I'm going to cut down my raffia tails, and then that was pretty much it. That completed this dupe. Even though, it would not have been my first choice to put the steel on, I liked how it came out. Here it is on the Christmas Central website for $53. And I think that is adorable. I loved it. But here's mine. What do you think? Now this third DIY is not necessarily a dupe. I kind of used the piece that I saw as inspiration, so I'm just going to make my own. But I did get the idea. It was either from TJ Maxx, Marshalls, or Home Goods, one of those three stores. I could not find it on the website, but I will show you a picture that I took in the store. So to start off, I'm going to take one of these galvanized metal buckets that I got from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to give it a couple good coats of black paint. After that, I'm going to take these window clings that also came from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to take the one that says trick or treat yourself, and I'm going to put it right on the front. Now, I thought I could get away with not using Mod Podge, but it actually moved on me, so I did. See, so I did go back and add some Mod Podge to the front, and then I put my window cling on top of that, and then I just kind of brushed over the edges with some black paint so it all blended in. It looked like the window cling was actually part of the bucket. I did brush over some Mod Podge on the handles or the tops, just kind of the parts that would be touched a lot. That way the paint didn't start to come off. So I'm just going to protect my paint by using the Mod Podge. So now I'm going to stick my window cling right back on the front. And there we go. And of course the Mod Podge is going to dry clear, so I don't have to worry about it. Now I'm taking my black, the paintbrush that had the black paint on it, and I'm just dry brushing some black over it. Like I said, that way it just kind of all blends in. And then I'm going to go over it one more time with some Mod Podge to seal it down. So now I have this dowel rod that my dad actually had. Sorry, it's my daughter. And I cut it down to two 5-inch pieces. It's either 5 or 6 inch. I'm sorry, I don't remember. Now I'm going to sand it down. Now you can use a plunger stick as well if you don't have just like a random dowel rod. So now I'm sanding down the edges, and then I'm going to take this witch feet door hanger, and I need the fabric, the striped fabric, and I am going to use the shoes in 1 second, but first I need to cut just the striped fabric off. So what I'm going to do is, well, I guess I'm going to use my Ladybug to clean up my sand, all the sand stuff. Okay, so I did cut the ends, and then I'm going to cut it up the side where the seam is because I need this to lay flat. So I'm going to put my dowel rod in the fabric, and I'm just going to hot glue the fabric onto my piece of wood. So to do that, I just kind of laid it towards the side of the fabric. I added some hot glue and kind of rolled it on there. So here we go. I'm just going to take my wood piece, put it kind of towards the end, add my hot glue, and then see, I turned it so the hot glue was at the bottom and then rolled it. And now I'm just going to just add hot glue wherever I see, that it needs to be glued down. And then I'm going to go and hot glue the other side as well. And the thing with this is you want to make it really tight. So, sorry, allergies. You want to make it really tight on there. And that way it sticks and it looks like legs. Then I went ahead and cut the bottom so if I stood this up, it would lay flat. Now I'm going to do the same thing to the other one. I'm going to cut it off. I'm going to cut the seam, and then I'm going to put my dowel rod on. So this one was pretty simple to do too. Like I said, if you don't just have like a regular dowel rod, you can use the plunger sticks as well. Okay, so once I got that one wrapped, I again cut off the bottom so this would be able to stand up straight. And I cut off both sides, by the way. So, all right, so now I'm going to take those shoes, and I'm kind of figuring out, okay, I need them to be a lot smaller because those are too big. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of peel off the buckle, and this is all felt, so it was really easy for it to come off. And then I'm going to take this cute witch. How freaking cute is this witch? Oh my gosh, I didn't even want to do anything to it. I'm just going to hang it as it is, but I am going to use the shoe of the witch. I'm going to trace around it because it did seem to be the perfect size. If you don't have this witch, just use, just go ahead and freehand a shoe just a smaller shoe, and go ahead and cut it out. Now, again, I'm using the felt that came on the witch legs. That way it's very budget friendly, and that way I'm not wasting any materials. So I am going to trace out 2 different shoes, and then I am just going to cut them out. So I thought that the other witch, the witch sign, like I said, the shoes were the perfect size. All right, so then I'm going to take the other big shoe, take the buckle off, use the small shoe and trace it on there, and then cut that one off as well. Easy peasy. There we go. And then I'm going to trace and cut. So simple. This is your friendly reminder that if you're loving what you see today, don't forget to give my video a thumbs up. Not only does it really help my channel to grow, but it also tells YouTube that you're loving my content and that you want to see more. So YouTube will put more of my videos in your home page. So smash that thumbs up. Okay, so like I said, I'm just cutting down the fabric so the ends of my dowel rod are exposed. And now I have my 2 little shoes, and what I'm going to do is hot glue the buckles back on the shoes. Now, I did not have to cut down the buckles or anything, but I did have to kind of take off the felt that was on the, that came off with it. And so I'm just going to cut that down, and then I'm going to hot glue that on. It's really simple. This was so fun to make. Now, like I said, this is not going to be an exact dupe which you'll see why. You'll see why, but I don't know. I thought it came out pretty cute. I more used the piece at the store as inspiration. And you know what? That's okay. Things, that's the beauty of DIYing. It's do it yourself, meaning you can make it look like however you want to look like. You can customize it. You can add things, take away things, change things. So it's really just up to you and what your style is and what you love. All right, so now that my shoes are done, it's time to put this all together. So I'm just kind of, making sure, standing it up, making sure that the shoes are going to fit. And then I'm trying to decide where exactly on her leg I want the shoes. So next I'm going to take my bucket and I'm going to flip it upside down, and then I'm going to use that gel super glue and hot glue to go ahead and glue on the dowel rods. Now you can see I'm putting them pretty close to the edge, and you do have to hold it down until the glue sets up. So I did hold it down. That was sped up, but I did hold it down for quite a while. Now I did realize that I was going to have to add a stand because it was not going to stand up on its own. So I'm just taking 2 tumbling tower blocks and 2 sets of them, hot gluing them together, and then I'm just going to hot glue those to the bottom of her little legs. So there we go. I'm just going to hot glue those down. And then I did, sorry you can't really tell from this angle, but I did take some black acrylic paint and I painted those Jenga blocks. Oh, there we go. I painted those Jenga blocks as well. That way they blended in. Next, I'm going to take my shoe and hot glue that on. Now, you do want to make sure the bottom of the shoe is flush to the bottom of the Jenga blocks because you can't have them hanging over, else this is not going to stand. So I just simply used some hot glue for this. You could probably use the gel super glue as well for an extra hold, but I thought that it worked fine. So I am going to glue it up at the top of the boot and then at the bottom. So now this is really taking shape, and now it stands as well. Okay, so then I thought I would dress her up a little bit. So I'm just taking the tool that also came off of the hanger, and I'm going to kind of cut it so I have just one big piece of tool. Now, this part's going to get kind of choppy because I really did change my mind 100 times on what I wanted to do here. So just kind of, follow along. I'll try to explain it, but once I got this off of the ring, and of course we're going to keep the ring for a future project. You never know. You might need it. Now I have this piece of black tulle. So what I did, and look, it opens up even more. Now it did rip a little bit, but that's okay because you're not going to be able to tell. So what I did was cut off little strips and kind of roll it so it was a little skinnier. And then I'm going to hot glue it to the top of her boot. And I'm going to do that on both. Now what I didn't show because you couldn't really see it was I actually hot glued some of the tulle around the bottom of the bucket, which you'll see right there where my hand is. There's tulle at the bottom of that bucket too. Then I also hot glued a little spider to the side. And then I'm going to use this sparkle ribbon, and on the top of the boot, I'm going to add that just to kind of add some more. Like I said, I kept changing my mind. I didn't know what to add. I really wanted to give her like a little skirt at the bottom of the bucket, but I just didn't know how, I just didn't have the right supplies, didn't really know how to do it. And I thought, okay, you know what, maybe less is more, because once you put candy in this, it's really going to dress it up. So, and add color and be super fun. So I just thought, okay, I'll just let it be then. And then I did add another spider to the top of the bucket as well. And I do like how this came out. I mean, it's not perfect. It didn't come out exactly how I wanted because, like I said, I wanted to add more. But I think once we put candy in it, we're going to really love it then. So yeah, so I just hot glued that second spider to the top. And after the spider was glued on, this one is finished. So I'm just going to show you a picture of the photo I took at the store. I think it was like $15.99. There it is right there, or $16. But here's mine. What do you think? For my last dupe, I'm recreating something I saw at Michael's. So I'm going to take this big welcome sign, and as you saw, I popped off the little 3D jack-o'-lantern, and of course, save it, just in case we want to use it. And then I'm going to flip it over and pry out the staples, and then I'm going to sand down where the staples were because it did leave a little bit, leave marks. So I'm going to sand that down. That way it's nice and smooth and ready to paint. Then I'm going to use my Ladybug. Don't forget that all of the supplies that I use, or most of them that I use that came from Amazon, are linked in my description box below. So if you want to pick one up for yourself, it's there for you. So I started painting this with the apple barrel paint, and then I realized, oh my gosh, this is going to take 1,000 coats just to cover it. So I went in with my pumpkin Waverly chalk paint, but I didn't like that color. So after that dried, I went back over it with my apple barrel pumpkin orange paint. I hope that made sense. So I put the Waverly chalk paint down first just to cover it, and then I went over it with the apple barrel pumpkin because I liked that better. And then I set that off to dry, and then once it was dry, I did take my ruler, and I'm going to lightly draw a line down the center, or what I thought was the center. I probably should have measured down with a black Sharpie marker, and then I'm going to sand this whole thing down because the one at Michael's did look really rustic. So I went in first with the sanding block, and then I got a piece of sandpaper and I really sanded it down, and I did pay attention to the corners and the edges, and the more I sanded, the more the MDF board underneath it started showing through, and that was definitely the look I was going for. I will show you what that looks like here in a second. I'm going to raise it closer to the camera, but I just loved that look that it gave. And then I just kind of randomly went through and just sanded different areas of it. And look at that. I hope you can see it because I really loved the texture that added. Okay, so after that, I did print off some spider webs for my Cricut. If you don't have a Cricut, you can draw this on. I thought about doing that too, but I did just get my Cricut a couple months ago, and I'm really trying to use it more. Hey, I have it. I spent money on it. I might as well use it, and I wanted to practice with it. So I thought that making a full sign with it would be a really good practice. It would be good practice for me. So I just went ahead and rubbed on my spider web to each corner. And this, yeah, this part was super easy to do. Just rubs right on, easy peasy. Let me know down in the comments, have you started making any DIYs? I know I asked in the last couple videos if you started decorating, or if you do. Have you started making any Halloween DIYs? I would love to know. Okay, so then it kind of hung off a little bit, so I just cut that off. And now I'm going to line up my letters that you can see there that I cut out from my Cricut as well. Now, as much as I tried to measure and get these all lined up, of course, in true Ashley fashion, they were not even, but that's okay. So as you can see, I'm trying really hard to line them up. I kind of wish I would have went a little higher, put the B up a little higher, but that's okay. And then I'm going to, yeah, just trying my best to line them up. And this I actually printed as a stencil. And then I had this little spider I was going to put on as well, so I was just kind of making sure it was where it needed to be. And now I'm going to rub my vinyl on there and then peel it up. So this was super easy to do, because then like I said, I'm going to use this as a stencil and I'm going to paint these on. In the one at Michael's, it was painted on. That's why I didn't like just print out Boo and use the vinyl. I really wanted it to be painted. So now I'm just going to take my makeup sponge and my black acrylic paint, and I'm just going to go ahead and stencil these on. Super easy. And, you know, you can use any stencils. You can use rub-on letters. You can do anything, really. Stickers, big stickers. So I'm just going to go ahead and put my word Boo down. There we go. And then once it was not completely dry, but I did go ahead and take off the vinyl. And this was my first time actually stenciling, using my Cricut to cut out a stencil. So you have to think backwards, kind of like, wait, you would take out the other part of the vinyl. So as I was peeling it, I was like, wait, did I do this right? And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I did. It's okay, keep going. So I'm just going to peel all of that up, and look how cute that is. I loved the font. This Boo was just something I found on the Design Space, and I believe it might have had something else to it, and I took it off. I don't remember, but I just love this. The font of this actually came pretty close to the font from Michael's. See, and this is where I messed up. The B, you can tell, is not lined up with the O's. If I would have just not moved it that third time, I would have been okay. So I'm just going to weed all of that up. Look how satisfying that is. So satisfying. Then I was like, wait, something happened. And here, the spider web that I just cut right there was actually over part of my stencil. So it didn't like paint over it, if that makes sense. So now I'm just going through with my orange paint, just touching up where some black got. And that way it kind of all came, you know, looked neater. And now I'm going to put my little spider on. And on the Michael's piece, the spider was hanging from the B. So I thought this was perfect. And then I did just cut off the little web, or the little whatever, so it looked like it was hanging. And if you see up top, it looks like where that little line from the top, it looks like it's going all the way down. So yeah. And then I sanded this all the way down just to kind of give it more of a rustic look and to kind of dull down the black. And now again, I'm taking a smaller brush and going through and just touching up all of the areas that got black on it. And then I'm fixing my mistake down at the bottom. I'm just adding the black paint. And then you can see that that part did not go on, so I'm just adding that little extra part. Okay, next I recruited my husband to take my the drill and drill 4 holes in each letter. So 2 on each side of the letter, because we are going to add some lights, because the one at Michael's did light up. So he is drilling the holes. This was really easy. I just used he used a really small one. There he is right there. Okay, so next you can see that some of the orange paint came through the holes. So I'm just taking my black Sharpie and just coloring it in, just so they blend in a little more. I'm not going too dark, but just kind of lightly brushing over it. That way it, it didn't stick out. There we go. This was, yeah, I think this was probably my favorite. I don't know. Okay, so next I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to use these lights that I got from the Dollar Tree, these fairy lights, and these are the copper wire, but it doesn't really matter. So after I got them all untangled, I started cutting off little strips of duct tape. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start at the end and I'm just going to push each of the lights through the hole. So the light is going through the hole. Then I'm just going to tape down the wires where, so that way they stay basically. And the wire isn't just crazy. So I am going to tape it down every so often, but basically this is it. It was super simple and I'm just getting these through. Now, if I needed to make my hole, like open it up a little more, I just use my weeding tool, and you can use just whatever little knife or whatever you have to stick it through and to kind of clear out the hole so you can push your light through. So that's it. That's how I put these lights in. So I'm just pushing it through using my duct tape, taping it down. It was so simple. And then if the light didn't go through all the way, I very carefully pushed it through with my weeding tool, but obviously you don't want to break it, so you have to be careful. But this is all I did. So yeah, this was super simple to do. I love pieces that light up. I love them. See, I'm just pushing the lights through. And I liked using these fairy lights because they were easy to kind of bend the way I needed them to go. So now I'm just going to duct tape them down, put the bottom letter through, or the lights through the bottom letter, pull it through. There we go. Okay, so next I'm going to take the battery pack and I'm going to hot glue it to the bottom. Now I did make sure to hot glue it so the screw is up and the on and off switch is facing out, and I did it to the corner. Then I'm just gathering up that extra wire and I'm going to duct tape it all down. And yeah, I'm just making sure that bottom one gets duct taped down too. And then after that, this was complete. And I just love how this came out. I'm thinking this might go on my mom's front porch. I'm not sure. Or maybe the fireplace. I don't know. I'm definitely going to use it though. So yeah, so after the lights went through, this sign is complete. There we go. All right, here's the one from Michael's, $47.99. Now, granted, this one was 42 inches high because it's supposed to be like one of those front porch signs, the tall ones. But I don't know, I liked my little smaller version. But let me know, what do you think? I really loved how each one of these DIY dupes came out. I think that even though they weren't exactly like the original pieces, I did add my own touch. I think that the idea behind them were so cool. That's why I chose them. I'm going to have to say, I think my favorites are definitely a tie between these canisters right here and that boo sign at the end that I duped from Michael's. and I really cannot wait to start decorating for Halloween and to use my new pieces. You're going to have to let me know down in the comments if you had a favorite piece out of today's DIY and which one it is, and also will you be attempting any of these? Do you have the supplies to make any of them? Let me know. How is your luck finding Halloween stuff? In my last video, I mentioned that I was having a really hard time finding Halloween ribbon of all things. Like, it should be the easiest thing to find at the Dollar Tree, and I just couldn't find it. But I heard a lot of you, or I read that a lot of you did find some Halloween ribbon, so the hunt is still on. I'm gonna keep checking. Of course, I go like every other day to see what's new. So let me know in the comments what types of things you're looking for or what you're keeping your eye out for Halloween craft, supplies or decor items at the Dollar Tree. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. Don't forget to please subscribe so you can stay with me in my crafting community and we can all be one happy crafty family. Also, a like would be greatly appreciated, as like I said, it really helps my channel to grow. So I hope that you got a lot of ideas and inspiration from this video for ideas that you could do in your own home and get ready for Halloween. Well, until I see you again, I'll craft with you soon. Bye!